そうだな。エンジェちゃんの期待する言い方にするとそうなるな。エヴァさん自身にだって自分の無実は証明不能なのさ。あの島で不幸な事故があった。そしてたまたまエヴァさんが生き残った。しかもそれ以上のことは何もわからない。つまるところ、唯一の生存者であるエヴァさんの話を信じられるか否かってことになるわけさ。俺は信じたよ。指輪の話や彼女の尊敬できる家族愛、そして葬儀で見せた涙、それらを加味して考えて彼女の話を信じようと思ったんだ。
でも私は信じない。指輪なんて奪う気なら方法はいくらでもあるだろうし、家族仲が本当に良かったかなんて誰にもわからない。葬儀の涙が本物かなんて証明不能。というか、私はそもそもエヴァおばさんなんて大嫌い。だから私は彼女の話を信じようなんて思わない。
In which case, both of you are at an impasse. Angie does not believe in Eva, and you do, apparently. As for me, I tend to go towards Angie's mentality over here. I would not believe everything Eva says. I know she had a hand in all this. Like, she is not innocent. Whether she was the only culprit or there was someone else.
事件の真相をどう見るか。俺とエンジェちゃんで真っ向から対立しちまったな。俺たちに与えられてる情報は全く同じなのに、全く異なる見解も持っちまう。こういうこと政治や経済でもよくあるんだ。同じ事業をやっても必ず評価は分かれちまう。どうしてかわかるかい？
いいえ。
愛があるかどうかさ。相手に愛を感じてるかどうかで物の見え方は全く違うってことなんだ。好きな人が貧しい人に施しをすれば尊敬できるだろう。でも嫌いなやつが施しなんて始めたら売名行為だとかばらまき行政だとか非難合々さ。何をしてもしなくても愛があれば感謝し、愛がなければ非難する。
Well, it is true. I cannot say that I have any particular love for Eva or anything to say that she's completely innocent. Hell, I can say with 100% certainty that the death of at least one member of the family was cause of Eva. But I get your point. On the flip side, if you have deep respect for someone, you're gonna try and see it from a defensive side, build theories to contradict the idea of how they are the killer, to contradict that. Like, I've been through that. I've known and loved people who have been suspected of murder, and just could not think of them as murderers. Even if I try to stay objective as much as I can, I've gone to extremes in the past.
それが世の中ってもんなんだ。
エヴァおばさんのことを信じられるか信じられないか、それだけの違いってことですか？
彼女を疑う人間には彼女が何をしてもしなくてもそれは実に不自然に見えるだろうさ。逆もしかり。俺はね、世の中には真実なんてものはよっぽどのことがない限り存在しないんじゃないかと思うね。いや、仮にもし真実が存在したとしても、それを信じるか信じないかは愛があるか否かで決められちまう。絶対性の宿らない真実なんて真実と呼べるのかい？エヴァさんが物理的なアリバイを示したとしても、君はそれを信じられたかい？
Maybe not believe it, but in the modern day real world, it would eventually be accepted, with enough evidence, that is. When solving a murder, like, no matter what feelings you may have deep down, objective, conclusive evidence and facts take precedence in order to reach the truth. Like, you know, punish the real criminal and not let the same thing happen again in the future. Otherwise, well, he would be living a lie. Figuring out the truth that your loved one is secretly a serial killer, for example, it is not determined by how much you love them or not. So, yeah. Going back to the current situation here, like, the only thing that stops Angie from reaching her objective truth here is that she does not have any conclusive evidence to back up her claims, no matter how much she hates Eva. The only thing Angie has here is the truth that she created based on her feelings. So I can at least agree with what you're saying here in regards to that. Like, other than that, if objective truth cannot be reached, it can only be subjective. And, well, sadly, that is where Angie is at right now. Yeah, he has a point. I hate Aunt Eva, so I'll probably deny all information beneficial to her, and maliciously interpret all neutral information. In other words, inside myself, the truth is already decided. And yet, I'm still unsatisfied. Still searching for the truth. So what exactly is this truth I'm searching for?
そういうことさ。つまり、俺から何を聞こうとも、エンジェちゃんがエヴァさんを未だ疑っている以上、何を聞いても今更何も変わらないってことなのさ。少なくとも、今のエンジェちゃんじゃ、仮に未知の新事実を掴んだとしても、真相に至ることはできんと思うね。
私では真相に至れませんか？
だって、エンジェちゃんはどんな新情報や新証拠が見つかったって、エヴァさんが犯人だってスタンスは変えないんだろう？ならこれ以上何を調べたって意味はないじゃないか。君の中の真相はすでに決まっているわけさ。だがもしエンジェちゃんがそれを真相と思わずに、さらに奥深くの本当の真相にたどり着きたいと願うなら、もう話したつもりなんだけどな。なんだかわかるかい？
愛ですか？よく意味がわからないです。
エンジェちゃんは今、エヴァさんを犯人だと仮定し、ものを考えている。でもそれじゃあ片目でものを見てるようなものなんだ。片目じゃどんなに目を凝らしてもものを立体的に見ることはできないだろう。だからもう一つ目がいるんだ。もちろん今の目とは別の立場でも。
Huh. That sure is something that Angie herself said when she met Beller.
エヴァおばさんが犯人ではない。あるいは本当に事故であるという仮定にも基づいて物事を見ろと。
そうそう、その通り。物事を考えるときには異なる立ち位置から見るようにするんだ。そうじゃないと本当のことは何もわからない。
True. If you think that what you believe in is true, try not to ignore the other perspective either. I mean, there is a reason why defense attorneys and prosecutors debate over someone's guilt in a court of law. Like, even if it is a defense attorney's job to defend and the prosecutor's job to prosecute, in order to reach the absolute truth, you cannot have one without the other. Only working together you can do that. Like, you need an opposing argument, like a second opinion, a new perspective, like, to combat your own. I mean, There is a saying that I know from a while back. Belief without some form of doubt is a lie. You need to handle both belief and doubt correctly. Otherwise, if you focus on just one of them, it can be bad.
新聞だってそうさ。一つの新聞だけじゃ、その記事を書いた記者の目線一つでしかものが見られない。
Jesus. How many things am I gonna reference from my past in this? I would like to cross-examine the witness's parrot. A lawyer only cries when it's all over. And what else? But that's a.k.a. days lie. And the list goes on.
複数の新聞を読むことで初めて立体的かつ冷静に分析ができることもある。愛がなければ真実は見えない。いいね。
An interesting quote you got there. Maybe he found it amusing that a cheesy phrase like that had popped out of his mouth. I guess from that point of view, I can understand what you're getting at. Initially, Angie hates Eva, but what she needs is some form of love in order to look at it from a different perspective and judge what the truth is without being subjective. And thus, without love, the truth cannot be seen. I guess so. For a while, he laughed, looking pleased. By that, he was simultaneously declaring that he had told everything that he knew, and that it was about time for me to leave. Understanding that, I got to my feet.
俺にもエンジェちゃんの気持ちが分かったよ。あんたが納得するようにしばらく好きにしたらいい。当時、君は6歳だった。わけがわからないうちに家族を失い、未だに心の整理がつかない気持ち、よくわかるんだ。真相はわかるかもしれない、わからないかもしれない。エヴァさんは犯人かもしれないし、犠牲者かもしれない。エンジェちゃんが信じる真実が見つけられるのを祈ってるよ。若いうちの旅も貴重な経験かもしれない。
ありがとうございます。お忙しいところお邪魔して本当にすみませんでした、おこのびさん。
Alright, thank you, Mr. Okonogi.
いいっていいって。これからどうするんだ？
まあ適当に。事件関係者やその道の専門家ってやつに何人かアポを入れてるので、そちらを当たるつもりです。
そうか。納得のいく答えが見つかるといいな。
At the moment, company president Tokonogi's secretary came in and handed him a memo over his shoulder. He read it and looked between it and my face.
エンジちゃん、旅に出てごらんと言った矢先で申し訳ないんだが、耳に入れといた方がいい情報だ。君、今だいぶやばいらしいね。
私の金を狙ってる連中ですか？だからお金なんてくだらない。
だからって財産丸ごと売っ払って全額を福祉に寄付しようなんてしたら、エンジェちゃんの財産で川残用してる連中が目ん玉飛び出しちまうよ。
ああ、スマデラの家ですか。あいつら何を偉そうに保護者面して。
I have the president of Aunt Eva. Who would ever go under the care of the Smadera family? They probably want, as Aunt Eva had so often threatened in the past, to cut off my arms and legs, throw me in a warehouse, and suck the Ushirumiya family's wealth dry.
スマデラ家の使いがここに来るそうだ。君を引き渡せと。いやいや、保護したいと言ってるな。
Uh-oh.
使いって？
君のおばだよ。桐江さんの妹さんだ。君のことを妹のように思っていると前に話してたな。
ご冗談。せめて孫と言ってよ、あのババア。
文脈から見るに君の意思は聞く気がないようだ。地下2階の駐車場に車が待たせてある。行きなさい。
スマデラの家から引き渡せって言われてるんでしょ？いいの？私を行かせて。
エンジェちゃんはきっと将来大物になるよ。この菓子はその時の出世払いってことにしとこう。行きな、早く。
After bowing silently and deeply, Angie left that place at a dash. After watching her leave, the secretary straightened her glasses and whispered.
スマデラ家からは足止めをしておくように言われていますが、行かせてよろしいのですか？
足止めならしたよ、十分に。それに間に合わないのはスマデラの過失だね。エンジェちゃんには逃げろと言ったし、スマデラにはエンジェちゃんが来てるよと通報したし、捕まっても捕まらなくても双方に恨まれない。世の中はすべからく愛だね。大丈夫、逃げおわせるよ。何しろ追ってまくためにビルから飛び降りられる子だからね。
Okonogi again looked down the road below and muttered, "Yeah, that will be beyond." Angie was no fool herself. She got off the elevator and stepped out onto the third floor. A taxi in the second level of the basement? That's so overly courteous that it feels wrong. It's probably better to decline that. I mean, I guess so. I mean, like, there's always the possibility that Okonogi is having us fall into a trap here. But my enemies aren't fools either. They probably have control of not just the underground parking lot, but the first floor lobby as well. This is such a massive building. Instead of getting anxious and escaping outside, maybe it's better to stay on the inside than wait it out. No, that's not good. If they gain control of the security room in a modern building like this, I'll have nowhere to run to. This entire building is like a massive dead end. The first floor is the business floor. A girl like me clearly sticks out. Trying not to stand out any more than I had to, I walked at a quick pace, searching for an emergency staircase. One running down the outside of the building would be ideal. I found the door to the emergency staircase. After opening that heavy door, I found the outside stairs I was hoping to see. Once outside, I immediately encountered a man smoking a cigarette who looked like an employee escaping work. After glaring at me, he quickly crushed up his cigarette and went away. It looks like there's no one below. If I'm going to escape, now is my only chance. No! And just when I thought that, with an incredibly squealing of the tires, a black car slid directly below me and came to a sudden stop. Christ. And here I thought that with Eva gone, we wouldn't have to worry about this sort of shit. Jumping from one frying pan to another, it seems. It felt from the tire sounds like there were several more of them, and this one had come here to block this path.
かすみおばさん、やるじゃない。非常口から出てくるメイにまで送迎車を送るなんて。
Bam! The car doors opened forcefully. 3 men in black suits jumped out, and I looked up at the emergency staircase. Ah, shit. Our eyes met.
12、マルタイ発見。北西側非常階段3階。応援遅れ。エンジェ様、そこを動かれませんように。ご無礼を失礼します。
The three of them began to clamber up the emergency staircase. They already announced that they are planning to be rough. Yeah, don't apologize. You're not apologizing at all. You're just pretending to be nice. You've probably been ordered to bring me back by any means, with one of my arms yanked off if necessary, just as long as I'm still breathing. Clank, 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 clank. Their heavy wild footsteps became a helix and began to rise from the lower floors, getting closer. Alright, come on, Eiji. We gotta parkour from one building to another. Hope you've played your fair share of Mirror's Edge. In the entrance lobby of the building, a woman was walking forward at a leisurely pace, 7 black suited guards in tow. Seeing this ostentatious entrance, the security guards for the building ran up to them, asking if they had an appointment.
これだから東京人は
No.
名乗らせなければ相手の格もわからない。
失礼いたしました。当社ではご来賓の皆様にはフロントにてセキュリ。
下がれ、下船が。私はお前たちの社長に呼ばれてきたんだよ。おこのぎ哲郎を呼んでおいで。呼びつけておいて出迎えもないとはね。これだから東京人は。
これは失礼。ようこそ後宮グループへ。妻寺かすみさん。
With his secretary behind him, Okanogi definitely appeared from the elevator. Even though both of them were bold smiles, they were caught in attention reminiscent of the smell of gunpowder.
演者はどこ？姉さんのかわいい姪を迎えに来たのよ、私は。
後宮グループでは時間厳守がモットーでしてな。時間を守れない人間は契約も守れないってのが先代会長のお言葉でして。
東京まで呼びつけてなんてざまなの？逃がしたわね。
逃げられたと言ってもらいたいですな。これでも随分足止めはしたんです。さすがに気取られましてね。妻寺さんが時間通りに来てくれれば問題はなかったのですが、これだから地方人はルーズで困るんです。
今なんとこの私になんと
He then sensed any Akiri's sociability in the face of her younger sister Kasumi. She wore on her face the arrogance of the ancient Sumadera family towards the ruined Ushiromiya family, as well as pride, because she didn't want anyone to notice that her family was declining so much that they couldn't ignore the Ushiromiya family's wealth. Even at a glance, it was easy to understand why Angie hated everything about her aunt. Kasumi couldn't stand even a slight insult. And while she still smiled, her eyebrows twitched. At the time, one of the men in black suits behind Kasumi whispered to her.
園児様を発見しました。対応中です。
あら、間に合ってよかった。ありがとうね、お好み。ようやくやんちゃな姪を連れて帰れそうだわ。私、あの子と一緒にゆっくりとお茶室で語らいたくて、お道具まで準備して待ってたんだから。
Clank, 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 clank. As the violence of the song drew a helix, he rushed up at me from below, threatening to swallow me up. Of course, even if I fight them, I stand no chance of winning. And so, if I run into the building, it would be like jumping into a dead end on my own accord. The enemies will increase in number with time. If I cannot do anything here, I won't have any more chances to escape. Then, 3 muscular black suits came into view below me. 1, 2, 3. 3 people. In other words, everyone who had gotten out of the car. If there had been just one of them, I might have been able to wait for the moment of arrival to dropkick him as well as I could, which might have worked. But it really is impossible with 3 of them. Wait. 3, huh? 3 might be just about doable. Yeah, I mean, come on. Just a bunch of drop kicks and suplexes, and we're gonna be good to go. Like in a fighting game. Hacha! I can do it. Hacha!
い。うわー。01より12、確保したか。応答されたし。どうした。応答しろ。なんてやつだ。貴様。
Ouch. See, that worked out, didn't it? It's just free. I've already experienced much higher places after all. I knew I could jump down just 3 floors. Oh. Well, I guess that works. There you go. It's a good thing that the car they came in was right beneath. Even if it wasn't as pleasant as a trampoline, it broke my fall. A little gently. A little roughly. It does look like fun though. This should work for me as well. Hey! I say. Having broken my fall, the roof of the car now had a massive dent around my body. I guess car roofs are more delicate than I thought. I think it's because of my weight. Apparently, the 3 men on the stairs hadn't anticipated me jumping down. Having realized that they had been outwitted, they were hurriedly rushing back down. I have to run and escape while I have the chance. As I moved my body, the car roof made buckling and popping sounds. But I had been naive. There was no way they'd have all rushed up the stairs without leaving one person behind. Uh-oh. There was one black suit left in the driver's seat of the car that had broken my fall. He stuck his head out of the window. When he realized that the thing that had fallen on him was me, he jumped out. In a rush, I jumped off the roof. But his action was really fast. Either there was a massive reward for capturing me, or a harsh punishment for letting me get away. Probably the latter. Uh-oh. I was mercifully held down against asphalt. I was being crushed face down, covered and pressed down from above. Oh no. Angie! Oh god. It was a hold without a trace of elegance. He really was logical and left me absolutely no room for resistance. I tried to push back with both hands, searching for a way to resist. But I was being pushed down slowly. I couldn't even tear myself off the asphalt. Then, another car came, squealing its tires as it slid to a sudden stop. Guess it's all over. The man that had been crushing me let out a sharp cry. Huh? He had yelled close to my left ear, making it ring. What in the world? Black suit and I were unceremoniously rolled over. After being turned face up, the first thing I saw was an arm stuck out right in front of my eyes. Huh? Why, hello there. Just in the nick of time, too. Amakusa grabbed my arm and easily put me up, spinning me around with himself as the center of gravity. The thought that it was a little like a dance lasted only a few brief moments before he flung me through the open door into the driver's seat. I climbed over the handbrake and slid into the passenger seat. Pushing me through, Amakusa also got in and took up the driver's seat. Since we had suddenly taken off while I was still on our full fours, I had to kick and struggle around on the seat for a while, like a turtle flip onto its back. Ah! Amakusa checked the rear view mirror. 4 cars in pursuit, but flew into the artery of the big city without lowering his speed in the slightest. Whoa! Sued our way between cars one after another, just like a chase scene in some action movie. First Angie surviving a skyscraper fall, now this. We truly are in a Hong Kong movie. Look out! Tossed about by his horribly tossed about by his horrible driving. I had trouble getting myself reseated.
お嬢、お怪我は？
問題ないわ。人間って案外頑丈よ。私、次からは下りのエレベーターを逃したらまだ
お嬢の趣味はエアダイブらしいや。ただ次からは落下傘をつけることをお勧めしますぜ。
飛び降りた後に思い出せたらね。
クール。
Cool. He smacked the steering wheel, guffawing. Need an explanation for this flippantly spoken man? Yes please. Like, who the hell is this guy? His name is Amakusa Juza. He was really one of Aunt Eva's guards. If I remember correctly, she hated him for being too jokey and too chatty. He was especially young amongst the guards, but contrary to his outward flippancy, he had hoped from the first airborne of the GSDF to the French Foreign Legion, placing himself in overseas private military companies and high-class security companies one after another, making for a pretty incredible and unique career. And I heard that he ran off from both the GSDF and the French Foreign Legion, and that he'll be arrested if he enters France again. Jolly. Both of these flippant episodes were very typical of him. Apparently, the guards had been sternly told not to chat with me unnecessarily. But I recall that didn't stop him come take a pass at me. I wonder if I had particularly disliked that. I believe she dismissed him right before she died.
その軽口が懐かしいわ。クビになった後はどうしてたの？
ブラックウォーターでエクササイズの指導を。休暇で帰国したら小此木社長に高給を提示されまして。
で、また脱走？こんな男、何の役に立つのかしら。
来週までに帰りゃ脱走にはなりませんので。話があったのは昨日です。お嬢が厄介な連中を呼び込むかもしれないと言われまして。
まさにその通りで申し訳ないわね。
お嬢と面識があってドタバタの経験も豊富ってことでご指名が来たんでしょうぜ。お嬢のおかげでハッピーな休暇と小遣い稼ぎになりそうです。
小此木さんがあんたを私の護衛に雇ったってこと？
He came prepared, it seems. And he especially hired you, out of all people.
お嬢に恩を売りたいんでしょうぜ。首の後、お好みの社長にはいろいろと世話になってましてね。
Like, he knew that this guy was a pain in the ass for Eva, and surely he is going to be a pain in the ass for Kasumi as well.
いろいろと弱みを握られてんで逆らえんのですわ。
小此木さんの世話になると後々で高くつきそうね。で、あんたは私をどこに連れて行くつもりなの？
どちらへでも週末までは雇われてます。それ以降は別料金で。
1日いくら
5万で手を打ちます。経費は別ですぜ。
軽口を叩かないなら倍払うわ。雇用期間は未定。何週間かになるかも。
そりゃ大変だ。
Yeah. With a jokester like him, no amount of money in the world will make him shut up, I'm sure.
ボスに休暇の延長を電話しないとなりませんぜ。
I mean, 50k, what is that in the end? Like $500? That's it?
私、どうしてもあの日のことが調べたいの。
ああ、例の六軒島の。
そうよ。12年前にあの島で何があったのか、私の手で納得がいくように調べたいの。
そんな昔のことを今さら調べて今さら新しい発見がありますかね。
そうね。だからこれは私の自己満足のための旅なのよ。それを終えたらネギでも背負ってスマデラの家に行くわ。かすみおばさん、私にお抹茶をご馳走したいとか言ってたっけ？ 白材の上に正座させられて石でも抱かされながらのお茶かしら。
そりゃおっかねえや。申し訳ございません。見失いました。仲間と思われる男が一人脱出を援護。スタンガン所持、運転技術その他から見て素人ではありません。
そう、ありがとう。残念よ、おこのぎ。これがあなたのお返事だということでよろしいかしら。
逃がしたのはあんたのヘマだ。俺の知ったこっちゃないね。
あなたにもぜひ今度お抹茶をご馳走したいわね。京都においでの際にはぜひお立ち寄りなさいな。行くわよ。
あれ、もう帰っちまうのかい。お茶漬けでも食っていけばいいのに。
Her back to Okonogi, she laughed at first slightly, but with an increasingly shrill and hateful tone, using that as a substitute for a sharp parting with Mark. At the exact moment she stopped laughing, the look on her face changed dramatically to that of a demon. But because her back was facing him, Okonogi never saw that expression. Okonogi watched her go, laughing coolly. His secretary whispered over his shoulder.
よろしいのですか？エンジェお嬢様は我が社の筆頭株主です。スマデラ家が後見人になれば。
知ってる。だがな、うちも天下の後ろ宮だ。舐められてたまるかってんだ。しかしあいつうまく立ち回ってくれたようだな。あとはエンジェちゃんの好きにさせるさ。頼むぜ天草。
霞様、逃走車両はレンタル。提示した免許証は偽装とのこと。明らかにプロです。おそらく車両は放棄するでしょう。追跡は困難です。警察に追わせますか？
そうね。家出娘の捜索願いでも出そうかしら。税金を納めてるんだもの。警察にもたまには役に立ってもらわなきゃ。母上に私にお任せをと単価を切ってお屋敷を出てきたんですよ。あなた、私にさらに恥をかかせるおつもり？あんたらまとめてお抹茶を振る舞った方が良さそうね。地下のお茶室は狭いから順番待ちの行列になっちゃうかしら。
全力で捜索します。
ああ、本当に可愛い子ね。姉さんに本当にそっくり。自分勝手で自由奔放なあたりが本当にそっくり。ああ、もう姉さんにしか見えなくなってきたわ。本当に楽しみよ。姉さんの娘をお茶室にお招きできるなんてね。
スマデラ家、動きが早かったわね。私、おこのぎさんに売られた？
ご冗談を。俺のクライアントですぜ。お嬢を売ったなら俺を雇ったりはしませんぜ。
That is indeed a good point. Well, let's see what do we have here. Amakusa Jusa, a former guard of Eva's, an extreme thrill seeker who accepts dangerous jobs for little pay. He had served as Angie's bodyguard before, but after he broke Eva's strict order not to talk to Angie countless times, Eva ultimately took a dislike to him and let him go. Angie herself didn't find him all that bad, because he was someone who could talk to. I mean, at least there is one person in her life that she could talk to freely. GSDF, Foreign Legion private military companies, this man has traveled them all and has skill in counter sniping and escorting VIPs. Sniping, eh? Okanogi. A major player in the Ushirimiya group. After Eva's death and until Angie succeeds the group, he and the other ministers are the ones managing it. However, since Angie has no desire to do so, the group is on the brink of eternal discord, putting him in a difficult position as well. Well, I guess there's also a motive there. He was previously the president of a foodstuff distribution company and had a very close relationship with Hideyoshi's company. Because of that long-lasting association, Eva particularly trusted him, and he was appointed to a significant post in the group. And Kasumi over here, such a pleasant woman, I tell ya. Daughter of the declining noble family Sumadera. Shinomiya Kiri is the younger sister. She hates her sister Kiri so much that she loathes everything about her. So she also strongly hates Angie. She is the opposite of the freewheeling person Kiria was and holds appearances in higher regard, possessing a strong ambition for a philanthropy. However, that is nothing more than a manifestation of her complex towards her sister, causing her to crave the limelight. There are several opposing factions in the Sumadera family, and they are constantly engaged in a secret feud over who will control the vast wealth Angie holds. How lovely. On the witch side... Do we have something new here? She's using Beatrice's game like a birdcage to imprison Berncastel. Her objective is an eternal draw. Takes Beatrice aside most of the time, but supports Balor when he looks like he's about to drop out. She does? Well, I didn't see that until now. Well, maybe she will. I mean, it makes sense. If she wants to keep the game floating, then Lambda Delta would help Balor as well. It's just that we haven't seen it until now. Or maybe she did help him till now, but we haven't seen that yet. I mean, all I can think of is that she had a part in the first Twilight of the second game, what with the candies and the Halloween party and all that. I mean, look at her. I mean, I've talked about this. Conversely, when Beatrice starts to get cornered, she supports Beatrice. Endless is merely infinite idle repetition. Certainty, on the other hand, indicates a far stronger absolute force of will. That something will happen no matter what. The Witch of Miracles, who has lived for 1,000 years, sent in a piece called Angie to defeat Beatrice in her game. The Voyager witches who cross the sea of fragments are far higher level beings than witches who cannot leave their own territory. Oh. Well, are we talking about Beatrice and Berncastel over here? Because it does sort of give you the impression that Beatrice only has control over her own game board and not much of anything else. I mean, besides the past and all that. We've seen Beatrice in the past with Shannon and Kanon. Unless those are magical claims that we shouldn't take those into consideration. Like, only take into consideration what Balor sees and all that. But, okay, besides that. We do know that Berncastel has some power. Like... past Beatrice's game board, like she can take Angie from the future and put her in Beatrice's game board. So yeah, she is a witch that goes beyond Beatrice's territory over here. She can do stuff outside her game board. In territory, they are equals, but fundamentally, her magic power far exceeds Beatrice's. What is it that witches who voyage constantly and escape from boredom seek from their journeys? I guess so. The Endless Witch, she loves bullying the weak and is capable of you. Extremely powerful, but word has it that she sometimes becomes obsessed with the art of creating certain patterns so that her means end up becoming her god, and that's something that I've read before, so... yeah, it does seem like Like, as time goes on, it does seem that Ben Castell and Lambda Delta have some higher power than Beatrice in some aspect, and as I said before, like an analogy of swords, she's stuck between a rock and a hard place over here. A little mage who has inherited the black blood from Kinzo. The Meister class. I don't remember what that was. The eldest witch who will live for the next 1,000 years. Or the witch hunter to slay all witches. I like that. I like that. With the witch hunter to slay all witches. That sounds pretty cool. What does that remind me of? It reminds me of Witcher. Of Geralt. I mean, I think he was a witch hunter, right? Without understanding witches, one will never slay a witch. After understanding witches, still never will one slay a witch. Okay. Yeah, well, what is the fucking point? She understands witches and denies them. This contradictory power alone gives her the blade to slay witches. Okay. Angie's side. Oh, okay. I see. So we have a different side over here. We have Angie's side, not just the human side and witch's side. Okay. Okay, well, I guess so. Now, while I do understand that you are working with Okonogi, I gotta ask the big questions here, sir. Like, the most important one being, what intentions do you have? What intentions do you truly have with my daughter over here? I warn ya, I don't stand people who intend to hurt Angie more than she already is. You got that?
それもそうね。
ああ、だから3階でエレベーターを降りたんですか。
地下駐車場に車が待ってるなんて手際が妙に良すぎたから。おこのぎさんに売られたかもしれないって思って。駐車場に待ち伏せがいたかどうかは今となっては証明不能だけどね。
なるほどね。社長め、気の毒に。お嬢に信用されてないらしい。その地下の車って俺のことです。
え？天草のことだったの？
着いたエレベーターが空だったんで焦りましたぜ。連中の無線を盗聴できてなきゃ今頃どうなってたやら。
つまり何？私が素直におこのぎさんを信じて駐車場に行ってれば、私は3階から飛び降りるなんて真似する必要もなかったってこと？
そうなりますな。ま、結果オーライですがね。
Well, that's something. If I hadn't suspected President Okonogi, I could have easily escaped without getting caught in a tough spot. President Okonogi might have sold me out. No. Because paranoia told me that it was better to suppose that he sold me out. I assumed and decided that he did. Because I wasn't able to believe him, my truth, regardless of his truth, became he sold me out. I fought back on President Okonogi's words. Can I really call truth truth if it isn't absolute? Truth can change completely depending on whether you have love or not. In the end, perhaps this thing called truth doesn't exist. For each person who speaks of it, another truth is born from their interpretations. And that's all there is to it. If I cannot accept something that indeterminate as truth, then where does the truth that I really want to find exist? And is that something that can be seen with my eyes? I might be surprised to discover that even if the truth is thrust in front of me, it may be something that I cannot see. Right. I mean, I talked and talked about objective truth and different perspectives before, and how, if you cannot reach objective truth through conclusive evidence and all, it is subjective. The problem here is that Angie's subjective truth is chaotic, a result of Angie's years of suffering and distrust. I mean, she thought of Okonogi as one who sold her out because, well, she cannot trust anyone.
愛がなければ見えないか。あなたのかけらは随分と賑やかね。退屈しないわ。
Fragment. That is a word that you use a lot, Bencasto.
あなたは言ったわ。12年前の真実を探れと私に命じた。でもなんだかわからなくなってしまった。何が？真実って何？人の数だけ真実がある。人の数だけ解釈がある。そしてそれは主観によって歪められ、いくらでも姿を変える。真実ってものはそんなにも不定形であやふやなものなの？
Up until this point, you have no idea.
そうよ。真実は不定形。粒子のようであり、波のようでもあり、相反する形状を同時に持つ。箱の中の猫が生きていると思うが死んでいると思うが自由。でも真実はとても繊細。それは観測されただけで姿を変えてしまうわ。
Alright. I mean, you know what an easy thing one could do to determine if something is really true or not? It is by seeing it with our own eyes. I mean, that is one of the mentalities that I had before coming here, like, trying to solve this murder case. The only thing that I see, if there is one thing that I can see it as the absolute truth, it is something that I observe it with my own eyes. For example, yeah, someone can say that that person that I loved actually died. But in order to solve the case, I could say that, well, there's no way I can believe it until I see it with my own eyes, that that person actually died. Like, for example, someone falling off, like, into the river and all that. You could say that that person died, but until I see the body with my own eyes, the dead body with my own eyes, then I'm not gonna believe that person died. But the events on Rokkenjima have surely just thrown that mentality out the window with what we're seeing over here, with the magic claims and all that, so... yeah, that makes it like 100 times more difficult for me to determine the truth in all this.
シュレディンガーの猫箱とかいう話？寝言よ。箱を開ければ真実はわかる。開ける前の議論なんて、机上の空論もいいところ。
Yeah. Basically like a brown tube situation over here. Except instead of human claims and magic claims, we also have like hundreds and hundreds of truths clashing each other. Like in Angie's situation over here.
そうね。にもかかわらず、その空論を否定するには、箱を開ける必要がある。開けられない箱の中身についてのあらゆる想像は否定不能。つまりは真実ということ。真実は否定されない限りその形状を維持する。そう。真実は観測されない限りその形状を維持する。つまり暴けなきゃどんな妄言も真実たり得るわけね。ええ、無限の想像はそれらが互いに矛盾していたとしても否定されず同時に真実として存在できる。家族みんなが六軒島の魔女に囚われて永遠に12年前に閉じ込められているというめちゃくちゃな話すら 12年前に何があったかわからない限り真実として存在できる。
ベアトリーチェという魔女は12年前の六軒島に無限の創造の余地をこじ開け、そこを猫箱として全てを飲み込んだ。
Outside of time.
開かれぬ箱の中の全ては真実。
That's right. We don't know what happened on that island, so it becomes endless.
閉まったままならね。私がこじ開ければいいだけの話。でもその箱は12年前に閉じられ、どこにあるのかもわからない。仮に六軒島に訪れたとしても、私は荒れ果てた島で12年前の何を知ることができるというの？
さあ、何を知ることができるのかしら。
A question that still plagues my mind even till this point. How to open the box and determine the truth. How to open the golden door. How to find One Piece. All that stuff. I can only count on the red truths and, well, the theory that I brought up before about Balor. And that theory, well, yeah, it's just a theory though. Which leads to the possibility of a hidden culprit. And I have to explore that in order to determine if I'm right or not. Like, if I can open the box with that or not. Like, can I really trust that? Like, can I really trust that theory to be the solution though? Well, I guess time will tell. Angie, on the other hand, well, what does she have? How can she determine something like that after so many years? Like, what evidence does she have up until this point? What kind of investigation did she do up until this point?
いずれにせよそれは1998年という12年後の未来を自由に闊歩できる。最後の魔女エンジェ・ベアトリーチェにしかできないことよ。ベアトリーチェのゲーム版は1986年10月4日から5日の2日間。つまりそれはあなたが彼女のゲーム版の外へ自在に動ける駒だということ。そしてベアトリーチェですらこのゲーム版を超えた未来へは干渉できない。
そうやって言われると、私ってかなり優秀でずるい駒だわ。
あなたが身を置く12年後という未来は確かに近しい。駒は未来に位置すれば位置するほど強い力を持つの。
So Beatrice she cannot influence the past or future. Like, everything must be constant.
言ったでしょ。真実は観測されると姿を変えると。
そういえばこんな話を聞いたことがあるわ。ある日突然ケンタウルス座の恒星が爆発してしまっても、その爆発の光が地球に届くには 4.4 光年だから4年半の月日が必要になる。
そうね。つまりケンタウルスの太陽がすでになくなっているとしても、地球人は4年半の間その事実を知覚できない。光より早く知覚する手段は存在しないのだから。
At the time we learned that the sun in Centauros exploded, we Earth people will paint over our past 4.5 years of history with a new truth. We will revise history with a new fact that exploded 4.5 years ago. However, for the 4.5 year period until we learned that, despite the fact that it has already died, the mistaken truth that the sun of the Centaur still exists will be able to exist as truth. The truth of the future wins out over the truth of the past. Huh.
そうよ。もともと 六軒島の事故はただそれだけならば、エヴァおばさんと後宮家の財産をめぐる陰謀疑惑でしかなかった。しかしそれが後年オカルトによって脚色され、陰謀は魔女伝説として塗り替えられる。
Even though it was clamored over as a murder plot at the time of the incident. In later years, strange occult theories which claimed that it had been the work of a witch ran rampant, and began to paint over the truth of October 5th, 1986. Murder theory will probably be forgotten over time, and only the more bizarre, impressive witch theory will continue to remain a superstition, and eventually paint over the murder theory entirely. I mean, even then, it is not something that can easily be accepted as a solid mentality. For example, yeah, after over 4 years or so, we can accept that the Centauros exploded, which is the new better truth. But in our case, what stops us from creating new truths in the distant future that are better than the current one that we find up to this point? Like, hypothetically, if we are to find a new truth, if we have something other than nothing, like one that is better than the one we find in the past, if we had a truth in the past. So it's basically like an endless pathway of truths that keep getting stronger and stronger as time goes on. But how can we be sure if the one truth that we find in the future will be the absolute truth? If there is even a slightest possibility that a new better truth will be found in the future, in a much distant future. I mean, imagine murders that need to be solved in the court of law, and then years later we find the real culprit, and we just keep going like that for years. Like, my point is, even if time passes, the truth is something that is accepted because we deem it to be the absolute truth after all these years, when the next truth could be right around the corner, and we just keep shuffling new criminals. But, you know, if I'm to think about it like that, it's very... like, I'm being very indeterminate over here. Like, there are gonna be situations where there's gonna be new truths each corner and we don't know, but other times, there's gonna be an absolute. Like, for example, in the past we thought that that Earth is flat, and until much later, we found out that, hey, Earth is actually round, and what, are we gonna debate over it again and see that Earth is actually a square or a triangle? No, we accept it as our planet being round, and that's the end of it. We're not gonna debate over that like anymore in the future, unless if we are to, I don't know, think in higher dimensions and by mistake find out a new better truth about our planet. Or something like that. I don't know, like... I guess what Burnt Castle is getting at is that at some point we are gonna find the absolute truth. Like, the more into the future we go through. And that absolute truth is gonna be something that Angie is gonna find herself. A truth that is better than the story of the witch, or the fact that Eva was the culprit of all this. So, I guess so, otherwise we're just gonna keep talking about this endlessly. I mean, I probably already talked about this for 5 minutes over here, so let's continue.
そう。恒星爆発の光が地球に届くまでの間の虚偽の真実が陰謀説という人間説だったかのよう。数年後に漂着した手紙入りのワインボトル、メッセージボトルがそれをオカルト説という魔女説に遡って塗り替え始めた。そうよ。魔女なんて1986年の時点では存在しなかった。その数年後にメッセージボトルによって私たち未来の人間に観測されたから 魔女が六軒島を支配した。
少し修正が必要よ。1986年の時点でも、無限に存在できるあまたの可能性の中の一つとしてね。
確かに観測されたら消えてしまう。猫箱の中に縮こまってね。だからメッセージボトルは悪質なのよ。魔女は箱の外に出ようとした。自らを観測させて魔女説以外の可能性を淘汰した。つまり自らを否定できないように魔女説以外の全ての可能性を否定したということ。なんてこと。つまりベアトリーチェは悪魔の証明を正攻法で成し遂げたのよ。そしてそれは初めから魔女の計画に組み込まれていた。
メッセージボトルは1986年より未来に観測される情報ね。ベアトリーチェにもバトラにも観測できない。エンジェ・ベアトリーチェにしか観測できない。
本当はメッセージボトルのことなんて調べたくなかった。だってそれを読むことは魔女の言い分を聞くのに同じ。魔女説なんて妄言を無視している私には時間の無駄でしかないと思ってた。でもおこのぎさんに言われたわ。片方の目だけじゃ物事を立体的に見られないって。
So basically theorizing about the magic claim as well, not just human claim. Question magic. Like observe both claims to reach the truth inside the bronze tube. I mean, I have thought about it. Though, besides the fears that I've made up until this point about the human claim, I cannot say that I know what to do next in that regard when it comes to magic and all that, even human claim. Like, how should I view the magic claims and the story of the witch and all? Like, what Beatrice truly wants out of me? Like, what does she want out of me?
魔女否定の視点と同時に魔女肯定の視点も必要ということ。
Right.
それは正しい考え方よ。視点の数は分母に同じ。視点の数が1では分子である謎はわずかほども減らない。しかし視点の数が増えれば増えるほど謎は割り算されていく。
分かってるわ。事件の数年後、近隣の島に流れ着いたメッセージボトル。それは神塚の手に渡った。アポイントは一応取ってあるの。
I was able to hear on the other side from Okonoki-san. Next would be the witch. Why not? I'll listen to what Beatrice has to say.